Hello. How's everyone doing? You hear me fine? Can you see me fine? Can you smell me okay? Let me know. Welcome. Let's see. Cosma. Hey, Cosma. Welcome. Jenny Ruby. Nya. I guess that's how you say your name. Rainless. Veritofferzy. Flo Purdy. Hello. Aishni. Yoon 2. Kainor. Claire Wilson. Welcome to the stream. We'll get started right at the top of the hour, as they say in Britain. If you have any Korean questions before we get started, now is the perfect time to ask. Welcome. If you're brand new here, hello. My name's Billy. I teach Korean. We're going to be learning some fun Korean today. I hope you're ready. Who else is here? Hannah Guzirova. Welcome, as well as Cat Memes and Natalie Luskin. I can smell you from here. Wonderful. But wait. Is that the poop emoji? Walter, welcome, as well as Mafaz. Mafaz also welcomed everyone. I appreciate that. Yes, welcome. And welcome. The class is going to be beginner level, but if you have already learned these particles, there's still going to be something new for you here. So I guarantee that there's going to still be something new for you, even if you've already learned these. Because I know some people might see the title, they'll say like, "Oh, man pakeo, I learned those, when I was 3 years old." Easy schmeezy. We're going to be talking about some details about them that you might not know, as well as exactly why you might want to use one or the other. So basically, it's a beginner level topic, but we're going to be going into intermediate level difficulty, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me, but if it makes sense to you, that's great. You can explain it to me after I finish this lesson. Who else is here? My Universe Love. Can you explain how many things you can 먹다? You can 먹다 a lot of things. If you're talking about idioms, well, there are a lot of idioms with that. Typically, though, anything that goes in your mouth that you swallow is 먹다. That includes liquids. So a lot of people don't know this, but 먹다 can be used with drinks too. 물 먹고 싶어요. 물이 먹고 싶어. I want to eat, literally. Consume is probably a better way to think of it. Whereas the verb 마시다 is exclusively for things that you drink that are liquid form. 먹다 is for anything. So, and then there's, if we go into idioms, there are a few more. You can 마음 먹다. You can eat your 마음, your heart or your mind, which is just to make a decision. There are a bunch of other 먹다 like idioms, but as far as just the verb 먹다, how many things can you eat? Anything you want. Keith, welcome. As well as Mikey. And Oki God's Time. And Almost LK. And Carrie Hicks. I'm saying these names as if like I know who all of you are. I recognize Keith and Mikey. I don't recognize the others, but welcome. If you don't know me, I am Alejandro. I'm a Spanish teacher, and you're at Learn Spanish with Go Billy Spanish. Hola, mi amigos. What's the Spanish version from welcome? Bienvenidos? Or is that the French? Bienvenidos. By mi YouTube channel. Shoot, what's today? I'm trying to like take the French word that I know and like I know like baby level French. I'm trying to like convert it. What would the Spanish version of aujourd'hui be? It would be something kind of like that, right? For today? I don't know. Bienvenidos a mi canal de YouTube. That's what I was trying to say. I was actually quizzing you because this is a Spanish learning channel. I just wanted to make sure that you're practicing your español. And that is it's muy fácil. Did they say fácil in Spanish too? Is that just French? I think that's French. I'm so sorry. I haven't been learning Spanish as much as I should, despite running this Spanish learning YouTube channel. ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? Oh, hoy. That's right. That's today. What's the topic for today? Sí, muy fácil. La fecha de hoy. La fecha es man y pake. Mm. You seem to have a lot of Korean speakers on the Spanish live. I guess, Spanish is just a really popular language among Koreans. I would say that when I ask Koreans what language they're learning, obviously the number one answer is going to be English, but a common second answer is Spanish. Believe it or not, it's really popular. Why? Because I think it's just kind of cool. Like it's like just another foreign culture. And I know a lot of Koreans plan to visit for vacation. They like to visit, Spain or Europe, or some want to go to Mexico for trips. But I think a lot of people do like visiting Spain. So I hear Spanish as like a common foreign language that Koreans learn, as well as Japanese. Oh, I take it back. Japanese would be the number two. Spanish would be a good number three. Japanese to Koreans is kind of like how a lot of people learn like Spanish or French as an English speaker, just because the word order is so similar, and they share a large portion of their vocabulary through Chinese. So a lot of people go over to that. And yeah, if you're wondering, I've never studied Spanish. All the Spanish you hear me using is, of course, from just growing up in Los Angeles, and you hear it. As well as my grandmother was a Mexican, which I don't really talk about that much, but yeah, she was Mexican. I didn't know it either, though, until I was like 20. That's a different story. And oh yeah, so I think I've shared this story once before, though. So my grandmother, who's passed away a long time ago, so you don't have to feel sorry for me, but she was Mexican, like total 100% Mexican, uh, born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas, but raised in Corpus Christi, Texas, born in Mexico City. That's right. So she was like Mexican, like for Mexicans, she was very Mexican, if that makes sense. And of course, I knew her growing up. I met her a lot. She'd always call me mijo, which I didn't really know what that meant. And then it never clicked. I'll tell you when I first realized that my grandmother was Mexican was when I was like 22. 21 or 22. I was in Korea. I think I was already in Korea. Yeah, and she sent me a letter for my birthday. And at the end of the letter, it was like a little card. And she had pretty poor handwriting. Her speaking wasn't that great, but I always just thought, "Oh, that's just cuz she's old. She's a little weird." She's just an old lady, it happens. But she wrote at the end of her letter, at this card. I wonder if I still even have it. The card at the end said, thanks you with an S. So I'm thinking like, my grandmother's Mexican is what I thought. At that moment, I didn't even it didn't click at all. I never once considered that. But then as soon as I read that, I'm like, wait a second. her accent, I knew she spoke Spanish. Like that wasn't like, I wasn't that dumb. I knew she spoke Spanish my whole life because she watched she watched Telemundo. Like she watched Mexican soap operas. I remember her watching them from when I was a little kid, and I would go hang out at her house. So I knew she spoke Spanish, but I thought she just spoke Spanish like the same way, I took French in high school. Like she spoke Spanish. I didn't realize that's her freaking native language. And I was just like, this lady's got kind of poor English. She speaks Spanish, but she's my grandmother. I love her. I liked hanging out with her. But yeah, and then when I got that card, literally I remember that card, looking up and thinking like, what the heck? My grandmother's Mexican. Oh, that makes a lot of sense right now. So anyway, yeah, so that's my story of how I am I guess a quarter Mexican. I'm sure you can tell though. If when people look at me, they're like, Billy, what's the freaking te Yo, I know yo is I. What is you? It's something with a T in it. Is it two? Because that's the French one too. Anyway, they'd be like, Billy, you're obviously okay. My joke's been ruined. You're obviously Mexican, aren't you? Like when I see you, I can think of nothing else but you being Mexican. I'm like, no, surprise. I'm only 1/4 Mexican. It is two also. Well, that's just okay. Okay, let's see what Cat Meme said you study Spanish in elementary. Okay. I did 1/4 in junior high. I did a Spanish class in junior high school. Obviously, you learn no Spanish in there, except we did learn how to count. We learned that if you bring snacks for the Mexican food, like the celebration that we had, the parties, then you get extra bonus points on your grades. So that was cool. I didn't know that was a Mexican tradition of bribing your teachers to get a passing grade, but it worked. And I that's all. I didn't remember anything from that class. We really didn't learn Spanish. So you just kind of pick it up though, living in California. Anyone who grows up in any area with a sizable Mexican or Spanish population, you just kind of hear it a lot. I studied Japanese in school. I'm a legit am learning Spanish, more Spanish than I knew from this channel. Spanish native speaker. Ah, hola. ¿Cómo está? ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Something like that. Ah, telenovas. Muy interesante. Sí. And I have a favorite Mexican drama. Most people don't know this, but my favorite Mexican drama is Que hora es. It's just the most touching, like, it just gets you right here. If anyone's seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's just so touching. Search for Que hora es. It's truly a masterpiece. Billy, how would you pronounce kunnan? Kunnan. Bribing is not the correct word. Okay. I don't know what the correct word is. I don't know how you say bribing in Spanish. El bribo? I don't know. But what was it? What would it be in French? I actually don't know it in French either, so I have no clue of how to translate that over. I don't think it was a bribe. I think it was more like the class, you get credit for participating. It wasn't like if you don't do this project, you won't pass. It was like, Billy, you're doing poorly in this class, but if you at least do this part of the project, you'll get a little extra credit and you'll pass. It was the same thing for my French class though, so I was used to it. 안녕하세요, PD 선생님. Welcome, Lexica. Regrettably, I forgot most of my high school Spanish. Yeah, I mean, I would say I forgot it too, but I never really learned it. Haha, muy bien. So, Cosma, the majority of the time when those two letters meet, Nian and Lir, the what is it? The Lir wins. But there are a lot of cases where the Nian wins, and it has to do with when the word is still important to hear the original word there. Like, let me hold on. Let me see if I can find these specific. Hold on, I just misclicked on something. I have to make sure I don't do that. Okay, give me 1 second for Cosmo. I'm gonna go to your question. Oops, I typed it wrong. So you're talking about are you specifically trying to talk about the word kun keran, like the roasted eggs? What is it? The baked eggs that you can buy at the store, kind of the brown ones that are cooked that they sell at the convenience store. But I think it might help if you think, if this word were if I changed how these compound words are pronounced, will it make it harder to hear the original word that's in the compound word? And if the answer is yes, then you probably want to let the Nian win. But there aren't too many of these cases. Kartanyok is another one where you need the meaning of I'm pretty sure that's the word. You need the original meaning to hear it so you can hear what the word is that you're talking about. So sometimes the word will overrule the lir in there. But really it's on a case-by-case basis. Most of the time though, you're safe just making the lir win. because that's naturally what happens in Korean anyways. It gets the other one. Bribe is soborno or sobornar. Okay. Sobornar. Hola, mi amo es Billy. ¿Cómo estás? Yeah. Sobin is bribing in French. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I get to learn some Spanish and French from this Korean class. Do you have any videos on the polite she? Yes, I do. I've done live streams on it. The word you're looking for is honorific. If you search that keyword on my channel, you'll find a dozen videos. In fact, I have a whole course. If you search Master Politeness Levels on my channel, I have a 24 episode free video course all about honorifics, and it's for every level. Although I would say at least you should know basic grammar and stuff before you start it, but it really is for all levels, including advanced. Okay, let's see. Sammy Nikuki says, I understand better than I speak. Well, that's always going to be the case. But in your case, you're saying it just doesn't come out. In order to get better at speaking, so I don't have too much time to go into like a full lesson for this, but in order to get better at speaking, you simply have to speak. There are no shortcuts to it. If someone tells you that you can get better at speaking by listening more, they didn't do it. That's not how they learned. You have to actually get speaking practice to get better at speaking, because your brain knows what stuff is important and it throws away most of the stuff it knows is not useful. And that'll include your knowledge of Korean if you're not using it. And that's why even people who are native speakers of a language will immigrate to another country. Emigrate, right? Yeah. They'll move to another country and forget their native language, and they'll speak it. Their ability in that language goes down over time unless they keep it up. And I mean, that's most common. You can see that with people who move to the US or move to other countries from Korea. And even though they're Korean, they spoke fluent Korean, native level. If they move here at a younger age and then they stop using Korean on a regular basis, they'll end up with like much lower Korean level than even they had when they left. You have to be practicing speaking it. Just listening to it isn't going to be enough. So that's why I heavily recommend getting a language exchange partner. I'm also going to be talking about that a little bit in the next, two podcast episodes from the next one. So you might have to wait a bit, but I'm going to be making a video about some tips for finding language exchange partners. But really, basically, online friends count. You can make an online friend and then meet them when you actually go to Korea, and then they'll become like a real friend once you've met them. You can do meetups if you're in Korea. If you're not in Korea, try voice chats. Like the Tandem and HelloTalk both have voice rooms you can do. I'd recommend those even instead of just doing text chatting, because text chatting is kind of more like you have to filter through a ton of people and you just don't match with a lot of people. But if you do the voice chat, I feel like you're going to get more people who are serious about just learning language, or at least they're more serious about using their language. They might still just be interested in dating like most people are, but they're still going to be more serious about actually using the language. So you have a higher chance of meeting people that way. But yeah, it would take a bigger video to go into some more tips about it. I would just say, try to get as much speaking practice as you can, not just listening. Okay, let's see. Question about lir. Sometimes I feel I hear like a soft L if it's the first syllable, or a Spanish R if it's a syllable in between. Yeah, you're talking about how the lir actually ends up sounding, but that has nothing to do with the way that it's made. The lir letter, it's hard to say, swapping back and forth really quick between Korean and English, but the letter lir. Hold on, let me just check, make sure I didn't get it. Okay, good. This letter is known as lir. So if you even hear me saying it, li, lir, it sounds more like an L at the beginning and an R at the end, right? So this leads some people to think, as well as I've seen some teachers explain it this way, that, oh, it's like an L in the beginning and an R in the middle or at the end. No, it's none of that. It actually never, it never reaches an L and it never reaches an R. I've said this before, but in case you haven't heard it, I'm just going to do this again. This is a drawing of the inside of your mouth. This is your eye. You're looking like, what the heck's going on down there? So here's your tongue when you make the the lir. This is the lir position. It's right here. It's not on your teeth. This would be an L. If your tongue touched here, that's an L. And if your tongue does this, squashes back, it looks like a face now. This is an R. If your tongue goes back like and doesn't touch the roof or the bottom, that's how we make an R sound, right? R. And an L in English, the way we do it. I'm doing this messy because I don't have time. Is your tongue actually touches here, right? Like that. You might touch like somewhere here or here or here, but it's always right around here on the tooth area, the back of the teeth. This is never lir. This is L, right? This is R. R. I'll give it a face because I kind of felt lonely. This is the L. This is an R. This is the lir. And now what is this? This spot, this exact spot, you can do it. It's just the same thing when you say a D. Now, you're not making a D letter. You're not doing a hard... The D, we do it by stressing a little bit. We add intense to our tongue, and then we da. Like we hit it, kind of goes strong. But if you make this same position as when you say D, right? It's just right at the top of the roof of just the front of the roof of your mouth, right? It's not behind your teeth. You never say D from the L position, right? That would be weird. Your tongue isn't supposed to touch your teeth when you say D, right? It's not supposed to touch the teeth when it makes this lir sound. It's right back here. So it's exactly the same as D. I'm not like generalizing. It is the exact tongue position as when you say D. But don't say D, say an L. Imagine that you're saying L. Now don't flick your tongue to touch the teeth, but say L from the D position. So instead of saying da, right? D-A, da. So say da, but say la from that position. And that is this sound 100%. Now, what happens is when you start a word by doing that, when you start a word by saying that, it sounds like an L, right? Because your tongue is so close to where the L position is. Your tongue's, here's the lir right here, and here's the your L sound. So it's so close. So when you start a word, or anytime it goes from that sound, it's going to sound like an L. And anytime you finish a word, so say a word that ends with D, like mad. But now instead of saying mad, try saying it, pretend it's like an L. I'm not doing it because you actually don't have that ah sound in Korean, but pretend we do. Mad. I know it doesn't exist, that sound, the ah, it doesn't exist in Korean. But when you do that, it kind of sounds more like an R, right? Because now it's softer. So now you're thinking, oh, it kind of sounds like this because it's so soft. It kind of sounds like this R. So that's why it sounds different, but it's always this. 100% of the time, this is all you're doing. And the different sounds you hear with your ears are just a result of whether you're starting a sound or ending in that position. How am I on time? I still got, I got like 7 minutes, so I'll have to start the lesson pretty soon. Okay, hopefully that helps a little bit. How do we pronounce 시옷? I don't have time to draw another one, but maybe we could do that after the class. We have a quick question. Okay, let me just try to catch up. Looks like Jabba the Hutt, yeah. Yeah, and then it's the same spot as when you're going to go roll an R, because when you're doing that, you don't do like that. You're not making an L. It's up at the top of the mouth, right? It's the same spot. Now, Koreans do not roll their R's, though. Japanese, you can. One of the differences, like, I hear people say, oh, the Korean lir is just like the Japanese, the Japanese li sound, la or whatever. It's not the exact same sound. It's very close, though. But you can do some things with the Japanese sound that you can't do with the Korean. One of them is rolling your R's. You can't do that in Korean, even though you might hear it in Japanese. Like, Japanese gangsters would be like a good example. If you hear like people, they'd be like, Korea, like they might say it like that. You can't do that in Korean. That sounds really weird if you say like, kre, oh, krum. Like, it just sounds like it actually has you can do it, but it sounds funny. Kind of like you're playing around, like you're trying to pronounce it like Spanish, like you're trying to roll your R's. But you can't do that normally in Korean. So where do we start with the Korean grammar? You mean for today's lesson? Who's Jackson Pollock? Do I have to Google this? Oh, Pollock, the painter? Did he? I don't get it. I don't get the joke. Does he look like me? He doesn't look anything like me. Okay. Any other quick questions before we start with the actual class? I do have a class for today. We'll start it at the top of the hour, so it's really soon. Oh, before we start though, actually no, I'll give you some announcements after we start the lesson. Never mind. Okay, one or two more questions. Kenneth says, "Hello Talk got me so many Korean partners." Yeah, it used to be a lot better in the old days as well. Like 10 years ago, it was like the place where Koreans would go to find language exchange partners. It was just really lively, I remember. Nowadays, it's much, much, much less, but there are still sizable amount of people who go there and do like the voice chats and will reply and everything. So, you just have to kind of do your best and try multiple places to find friends. Oh, the drawing. Fair enough. I missed it. I erased the drawing and then I saw your comment. It's funny because I actually took an art history class when I was in college. And I remember learning about all of the like general artists and everything and forgot everything after. I mean, I recognized their paintings, but I forgot everything. Okay, Dant Lures says, "I'm trying to learn Korean. I wanted to ask what to start. I have a course. Let me give you a link." Let's see. Courses. There we go. That's the link. It should share in like a second. Yeah. Do a lot of people in Korean speak English? Could you go around not speaking Korean? 100%. You could go around Korea in a major city. Yes. Smaller cities? No, you'll have a harder time, especially if you're talking with people who are older than 50. There's a less chance that they're going to know much English. But like younger people, probably still anywhere. Gray asks, "Will there be a lesson next week?" It's break, so there won't be a class next week. Is this class suitable for intermediate advanced? I'm not sure I know this phrase. If you don't know this phrase, then you wouldn't be intermediate or advanced. So yes, this would be suitable for you. Yeah, all of the things we're doing are beginner level today. I will be giving in-depth information about them though. So even if you are someone who's already learned these particles and this grammar form, you'll probably still learn something new today. Oh, Mikey. Thank you, Mikey. Please sponsor Billy, says Mikey. I support this message wholeheartedly. Mikey, I have a question. When you just donated, did you hear the sound? Did you hear a sound and see a donation message thing flash on the screen? Because I wasn't paying attention. And I'm switching to I have a different program I'm using for streaming today, starting from today, which should be much better than the other one I was using for like 7 years. And I just want to make sure I have everything set up. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, MK says Suwon is not very English friendly. That's true. Suwon people, I'd say, okay, secretly they all know some English, but they're not going to try to use it to you in Suwon because it's not so common that people live there that are like there's nowhere for someone to go if they don't speak Korean. Like the only reason you would go to Suwon is if you're going to like the Kyunghee University there, and there are some foreign students there, but they're all studying Korean. And there isn't any like major English classes that they would hire foreigners at. There are some foreigners who live there, but they also all speak Korean. So there really isn't a need to practice English if you're going to be living around Suwon. They could still use English, but they're going to be more comfortable with Korean. Whereas Seoul is different. Seoul, you're going to get people want to use English with you just for free practicing. And I mean, that's why I think, I wouldn't want to live in Seoul personally, just because of that, at least. Thank you, Mikey. Okay. Yeah, it should look the same and sound the same, but under the hood, it's a lot better. I noticed that consonants pronunciation varies between Koreans. Okay, I have to start the lesson right now. Hold on to that question and ask it to me at the end of the class if I have time. I like the challenge while I was there. Nice. Yeah, I like being in Suwon. I feel like I can practice Korean. I get to feel like I am a person who lives in Korea permanently when I'm in Suwon, just because you get people, they don't try to use English to you first. They'll try to use Korean to you. They're still impressed if you use Korean. So anyway, okay, I'm going to be teaching a couple forms today. But the first thing, I have an announcement. If you don't already have it, make sure to get the worksheet for my live streams. You can get them on my Patreon page. And the worksheet for today's lesson has an additional 12 example sentences about all the forms we're going to be learning today. So if you feel like the lessons don't have enough sentences, that's just because of time. I can't do like 100 sentences. But I put the extra ones in the worksheet. So get the worksheet for this lesson as well. There is no live class next Sunday because we did 2 in a row and then next one will be off. Also, the other thing I wanted to say is for the podcast, we had 3 lessons in a row. We had episodes. Episode 1, 2, and 3. We had them 1 week in a row. Just because it's the first 3, I wanted to make sure we have a good start for the podcast. Going forward, though, they're not going to be weekly because I wouldn't be able to upload any other videos if we did, but they are going to be bi-weekly. So starting from this week, you actually won't get a podcast this week. You'll get another episode, which I actually filmed when I was in Korea during the summer. But you'll get every other week going forward. I'm going to try to have an episode of the podcast. When I'm in Korea, will be the only time we won't have the podcast during the summertime. Besides that, it'll be a bi-weekly podcast. So just letting you know going forward, if you don't see a podcast this week, it doesn't mean the podcast is canceled. It's going to be, again, you'll see another one the next week. In fact, I already just yesterday finished episode 4 of the podcast. And this week, I'm going to be filming, well, I'm not sure if I'll finish them yet, but I'm going to be writing and working on the next episodes as well, episode 5 and 6. So we're going to be fine for a while. Okay, so today we're going to be learning about 2 beginner particles and 1 intermediate level grammar form. But even if you've already learned all of these particles and grammar forms before, there's probably still going to be something you didn't already know. First, let's start with the most basic one. The particle man, which means only or just. Oops, that's messy. This particle, my voice just cracked. What happens when you're a teenager? This particle is extremely basic in that you can use it in every situation. You don't need to learn special rules for when you can and can't use this particle because it works. It always grammatically makes sense and it always just means only or just. And you just stick it onto the end of any noun you want, or even it can work with particles or markers. And that's all it is. So you can even use this one with other grammar forms. For example, you might have a grammar form like the verb hada becomes hagiman, like hagiman ha면, if you only do this. Or 지만 않다, which is 지 않다 with man in there, like only not doing something. Or nidaman, like the 합니다 form, for example. 합니다만. So you'll see this used in a lot of grammar forms, and it just means only or just. In this case, nidaman, it's kind of like saying but. It's just a more polite way of saying 지만 for but. So you'll see man used everywhere. It's super useful. You can also use it with markers. Markers like the subject marker, object marker, or topic marker. When you use it with an object marker, it's completely optional. But if you do, man always comes first. So if you wanted to use it with the topic marker, it's man, and then the topic marker in that case would be un. So you get man은. With the subject marker, 만이, 많이. And with the object marker, 만을, 만을. like garlic. You wouldn't say ulman or unman or iman. Those would be different words. So if you're using it with a marker, man will go first. However, if you're using it with another particle, man will go at the end. This is something I think most beginners don't already know. In fact, a lot of intermediate people don't know how to use this either. Like if we're going to use it with the particle a, you wouldn't say man a. It would be a man. Or the same thing with ege or egesol or anything like that. Hante, like to or from. Or gaji, like up until. Gaji man. Or from. Esol man. You get the idea. If it's a marker, man goes first. If it's a particle, man goes last. However, if you're using it with a marker, most of the time it's completely optional. And I wouldn't recommend adding it because it just adds more emphasis. And unless you know what the emphasis is from each of those markers, I recommend not using it. But if you see it, that's all it is. Okay. Now, you are a master of using man. That is all there is to it, including like advanced stuff. I just covered a bunch of advanced stuff with you. You're a master now. So let's do our first example sentence with man. Oops. We'll do a few simple ones. We'll do a couple a little bit harder ones. Make this past tense. Okay. Banana, which is a banana. Banana 한 개. So one banana, 한 개만 먹었어요. So I ate only one banana. I only ate one banana. 바나나 한 개만 먹었어요. 바나나 한 개만 먹었어요. I only ate one, 한 개, banana. Or I just ate, meaning only, I just ate one banana. So what did you eat today? 바나나 한 개만 먹었어요. I ate only one banana. Don't worry, I didn't eat too much. I only ate one banana. Perfect sentence. Although we're going to be learning pake next. This might not be what you want to say, but grammatically, this sentence is perfect. They will always understand you, and that's all you have to do. Just stick man at the end of whatever word you want to say, only or just. Hold on, I got a donation. Oh, thank you, Lexica. Talk to Me in Korean is also live in 30 minutes. Nice. I hate when these two juggernauts make me choose. It's fine, Keith. I welcome you, but yeah, I'm sure they're going to do some fun content over there too. I would crash their stream, but I'm already streaming here, so I can't. Okay. Yes, minute 7 will be missing seeing you next Sunday. Well, I mean, I won't be doing a class, but I didn't say you won't see me next Sunday. Although actually, I don't have any plans, so we'll see. It's supposed to be my break. But sometimes I just say, forget it to my break and I just stream anyway. It depends if I have any other plans. But yeah, there won't be a class. Oh yeah, and I also ordered all new markers. So because I'm finally running out. So I'll have brand new markers probably from next class. Oh wait, I skipped ahead. I was like, wait, that's awkward when I was writing already. Okay. 너만, only you. 파티에 안 왔어. Only you did not come, 안 왔어, to the party. Only you didn't come to the party. So, just you. Like, you're the only one who didn't come to the party. Only you didn't come to the party. 너만 파티에 안 왔어. Everyone else came, but only you didn't come to the party. Oh, wait. Lexica did. Hold on. I got confused because you donated on minute 7 again. And I wrote 7. But then I'm like, wait a minute. No. But thank you, Lexica. Remember, you can cash in your dabs at any time for the exchange rate of $1 per 1 dab. The economy might not be doing too great, but my dab exchange rate will always remain the same. That's my guarantee. What happened to the reusable markers? Yes, that's what I ordered. Is the refillable markers, actually. The reason I hadn't ordered them yet, although I was planning to, they've been in my shopping cart for like a year, is because I still had some other markers left in my closet, and I didn't want them to have to get thrown away, because I'm pretty confident that the refillables are going to be much better than these. So I wanted to use these first before I threw them away. But this one is now mostly empty. I can see through it now. And I only have 2 black markers and purple marker now. So yeah. Yeah, I'm going through this mon pretty quick because I think everyone here already knows it. That way we can get to the next one. Okay, 10분, 10 minutes. 10분만, so just 10 minutes. 기다리다, to wait. 기다려 주세요. Please wait just 10 minutes. So please just wait 10 minutes. Just wait 10 minutes, please. 10분만 기다려 주세요. This is how you would tell someone to please wait just 10 minutes, okay? 10분만 기다려 주세요. 10분만 기다려 주세요. Please just hold on for 10 minutes, okay? 10분만 기다려 주세요. I didn't know it, but I just learned. Well, nice. Lola in the back. You've been sitting in the back. In the black. Never mind. I thought you were sitting in the back of the class. That's why that was your name, but you still learned it, so I was happy. Okay, one more sentence for this. I know for most people you already know it, but bear with me. I think the next one will get more interesting because most people already know man, but I think most people actually don't know how to use pake differently. Like, they might know how to use it, but they might not know what makes it so different than man. Because I see people misusing it a lot. Oops, that goes off the screen. Oh, that's like way too high. I can't write neat, okay? Yay, there we go. Okay. 비밀번호 is the password. 비밀번호는 철수에게만. So only 철수에게, only to 철수. 알려주다 is to inform, to tell. So I only told the password to 철수. 비밀번호는 철수에게만 알려줬어요. 비밀번호는 철수에게만 알려줬어요. Implying I didn't tell anyone, I only told 철수. Literally only or just to 철수. So the password only to 철수, I informed, I told. So I only told 철수 the password. Okay, and we could go over, some of the other grammar forms that use man. That's for another time, because if you know what man means, it's always the exact same thing. Even when it's in those other grammar forms, it literally just means just or only, and that's it. And that's it. Like just or only, and that's it. And that's it. Okay. This next one is more interesting, and that is the particle particle, pake. Now, pake is used in a very different way than man. This also means just or only, but it must be followed by a negative verb. It has to be followed by a negative verb. For example, it could be followed by a verb that starts with an, right? An hada, to not do. An kada, to not go. Or you could use a verb that ends with the ji anta form, like kada, to go, or kaji anta, to not go. 좋아하지 않다, to not like. Or you can have it with cannot, 못, like 못 가요, 못 해요, I can't do it, I can't go. 못 와요, I can't come here, like that. A can't is also a negative, that's okay. So I couldn't do something. Or it can also be used with the verb 없다, which is the opposite of 있다. So 있다 would be to exist or like to have something, and 없다 is to not exist. Like 지금 시간이 없어요, I don't have time right now. You could use it with that. Or you could also use it with the verb 모르다. 모르다 is the opposite of 알다, to know. So 모르다 means to not know. So I don't know, I don't have, I can't, I do not, like that. If you do not use this with a negative verb, it makes no sense. So if we had our previous example, like 바나나 한 개만 먹었어요, you cannot say 바나나 한 개밖에 먹었어요. That makes no sense. You would have to use it with a negative version of that verb. So instead of 먹었어요, like our previous example, you would have to make it negative somehow. So in this case, we could just say like 안. We can say 바나나 한 개 밖에 안 먹었어요. So there is an exception though. If you want to say it is only something, like this is only an item or whatever, you can use ida with man, because like I said, man has no restrictions. You can use any verb with man. 밖에, however, cannot be used with one negative verb. 아니다 cannot be used with 밖에, however, even though it's negative. 아니다 is literally an plus ida stuck together into one verb. 아니다, 아니다. You cannot use 밖에 아니다, but any other negative verb is fine. So how does this work then? Well, I just told you how it works, but actually, like, how does it actually work? Let me clear the, oh no, I have to redo that. Let me clear the board of this a little bit. This form is going to make perfect sense to you in just a second. Who knows this word already? This word, 박, is actually a noun. It's a regular Korean word. So you can say like 강아지는, the dog, 밖, outside, 밖에 있어요. 밖에 있어요. 지금 밖에 있어요. The dog is outside, literally at the outside. Although this is not that usage. This is the particle 밖에 as one unit, but the word 밖 by itself means outside. If someone says, hey, what's it like outside right now? You can say 밖이 어두워요. It's dark outside. Literally, the outside is dark. So you can use 밖 like a normal word, but in this usage, it's separate as one unit as a particle. However, this unit still comes from the word outside in Korean. So when you say noun outside with the particle a, you're literally saying and figuratively saying and metaphorically saying and I don't know what other words. You're actually saying outside of this noun. So what does that mean? You might think of this as more like other than that noun, besides that noun, and you would be correct. This literally means outside of the noun, but it's kind of like saying other than the noun or besides the noun. So in the sentence, 바나나 한 개 밖에 안 먹었어요. So again, banana is the noun, or 한 개 is the noun. 밖에 안 먹었어요. You're saying outside of one banana, or besides one banana, or literally, sorry. So you're saying literally outside of one banana, I didn't eat. You can think of it like saying besides one banana, I didn't eat, right? Yes, that is what you're saying. That is how this means only one banana. It literally means outside of that, I didn't, or I don't want to, or I can't, or whatever. It really just literally means that. So hopefully that makes sense. So then, the next question that all of you are probably thinking right now is, well then, that's simple, Billy. It just means besides, okay. But then why would I want to use man instead of 밖에? Or why would I want to use 밖에 instead of man if they both mean only? Man is a lot easier, right? Why don't I want to use it? Well, it's because 밖에 will most of the time sound more natural. But usually is kind of vague, Billy. When does it sound more natural? Okay. Don't worry. Let's talk about when 밖에 sounds more natural. Again, go back to the meaning of it. Outside. So outside of, let's give our sentence. Let's look at this sentence again. Oh wait, I wrote way too big. Now I don't have space for my banana. Okay, hopefully you can read it. I wrote it really messy. So again, let's look at this literally. Banana, banana, 한 개, one, so one banana. 밖, outside of. 안 먹었어요. So I didn't eat outside of one banana. I didn't eat besides one banana, right? Other than one banana, I didn't eat. Okay, I know you can get that. I know that makes sense. But then why wouldn't I just use 한 개만 먹었어요? Like, why would I want to use 밖에 instead of 먹었어요? Wait, why would I want to use 밖에 instead of 만 if they both mean only? Because the nuance of 한 개만 먹었어요 is different than 한 개밖에 안 먹었어요. The nuance difference is that when you say 밖에, the nuance difference is actually the exact same as we have in English if you were to say besides. Although in Korean, it doesn't really mean besides, it actually means outside of. The nuance difference is like saying, something is insufficient or lacking. Just like it is in English if you say outside of or besides or other than. So other than a banana, I didn't eat. Versus 바나나 한 개만 먹었어요. I ate only one banana. When might you want to say I ate only one banana? And when might you want to say I didn't eat anything except a banana? They both have the same translation in English. I ate only one banana, but the nuance is completely different. Because when you use 밖에, it really does emphasize that there's nothing else. Because it literally means outside of that. Like if you say outside of this language, I can't speak. It's like, well, I can only speak that language, right? But it implies that, I got nothing besides this language. If you say, I only have you as my friend and you use 밖에, it implies I got nothing else. Like besides you, I got nobody. It's not saying only you are my friend, but it's saying, no, you're all I got, right? If you say, I only have 2001, you're saying man, I got nothing except this 2001. It emphasizes that lacking, that absence of everything else. So it means it has that nuance of something is insufficient or it's lacking. This doesn't have to be like you're complaining about something. I'm not saying that if you're complaining about something, you have to use pake. It just means that it has that emphasis that something's lacking, because it literally means like besides that, besides the one banana I didn't eat. So this could be bragging, right? Like what if you're on a diet? Banana 한 개밖에 안 먹었어요. Like that's all I ate today. Besides one banana, I didn't eat anything. I had some popcorn, I had a banana, like besides that is what it means. So it doesn't have to be like you're complaining or you're upset about something, but it does have that nuance that something is lacking. And man does not have any of that nuance. It literally is just only. So if you were to tell someone that you are a vegetarian and you only eat vegetables, 채소, would you say 채소만 or 채소밖에 to say that you only eat vegetables? Think about it for a second. Tell me, what do you think? If you were to tell someone that you are a vegetarian, 채식주의자, and you wanted to say you only ate vegetables, would you say 채소만 먹어요? Or would you say 채소밖에 안 먹어요? You could say either, but which one would you say? And why? I want to know why. So let's go through each option. 채소만 먹어요. So I only eat vegetables. That's it. I eat only vegetables. That's all I eat. The end. Perfect. That sentence is good. Billy approved. 채소밖에 안 먹어요. Besides vegetables, I eat nothing else. Like I eat nothing except vegetables. Good. Very different nuance though. The nuance of this is saying besides vegetables, I don't even eat. It sounds like kind of like you're saying it's not enough. I mean, I'm doing the best that I can, but all I eat is vegetables. 채소밖에 안 먹어요. It makes sense. It means, all I eat is vegetables. But it kind of sounds like you'd wish it wasn't. Like, man, all I eat is vegetables. Because I don't eat anything except vegetables. Whereas the first one is just, I eat only vegetables. Nothing else. This one might be what someone would complain about you if they're like one of those weirdos that doesn't want other people to eat vegetables for some reason. They might say, that person, 저 사람은 정말 채소밖에 안 먹는 것 같아. Man, all they eat is vegetables. It kind of sounds like that because it's like they don't eat anything except vegetables. Haha. Like it might not be the one you'd use about yourself when you're saying I only eat vegetables, because you really just truly mean, I only eat vegetables. You're not saying, man, I don't eat anything except I do eat vegetables, like that. It's not putting any if you use man, it's not adding like that extra emphasis that there's more you're missing out on. Pake though does. Pake implies that there's more that you're not including. Like, yeah, there's all this, food I wish I could eat, but I only eat vegetables. It's kind of what it implies. Like there's all this other stuff and this is just all that I choose to do. Whereas man is simply only a focus on that thing. So it doesn't have the extra focus of what's missing, which is why pake has that emphasis of something lacking. Again, it doesn't have to be complaining, but it has that emphasis of there's something lacking here, or maybe it's insufficient. It's not enough, because pake adds emphasis to that missing spot and man does not. Oh, I got a donation from Sigominko, my favorite Italian. You're Italian from today. My favorite Italian follower. Here's 10 bananas, only for another great lesson. Yeah, that should. I mean, how much could a banana cost? $10? Sigominko, 10 banana. Deo. He say Deo. That's supposed to be a banana. Kind of looks like a chili pepper. The insufficiency would be missing nutrients. Sure, if you are saying, my doctor says I can only eat, then that might be a perfect use for pake because it implies, it adds emphasis to all the stuff that you're not eating. So that's what pake does. It adds emphasis to the lacking part. And by pushing the lacking part into the sentence, by adding emphasis to that, it implies that this is all that's left. And man ignores that in the nuance. It just talks about only this. Like man has blinders on. You're just looking at the only part. And pake has the whole picture. And it's saying, well, this is the only part, but it's because of all of this out here that it's not including. Does that kind of make sense? The nuance difference. So it's not to say that pake is the one you always need to use, but I will say this, most of the time, oh, I got a donation. So I won't say that. I'm going to look at the donation and then I'll say that. Whoa, Flo Purdy, bottom of the hour donation. Thank you. Donatone. Sorry. Wow, thank you so much. I'm so glad I opened up donations because you guys have paid for all of my markers and my erasers. Although since I found this eraser, I've never needed to get a new eraser. Has anyone noticed since I started using this, I've been using the same one for like several months now. And all I have to do is once a month, I peel off one of these layers. And I have another one of these in my closet too. These are the best. I wish I got these in the beginning. Thank you so much, Flo. Costco bananas. Oh my God, that would be so many bananas. Yes, different nuance. Same meaning, different nuance. So I'm going to say it one more time. That way I can edit it in because I'm not going to put that whole explanation in my edit. Basically, the main difference is that while man only talks about the item itself, whatever thing is only, pake sees the whole picture and it adds nuance to the fact that there's all this other stuff missing. And because of all the stuff that's not included, that's outside of the noun, that's what makes it the only or just. So that's the nuance difference between these two. Okay, let's see. So, however, because of that, there are some restrictions on where you cannot use pake. You cannot use pake to say only do something, like do only that. And if you think of it logically, of course, like if I was going to try to say only eat vegetables, how could you possibly say eat outside of vegetables? Like, what? No, you have to say 채소만 먹어요. 채소만 드세요. Eat only vegetables, please. You can't say 채소밖에 안 드세요. Like, you do not. Do you eat besides vegetables? It doesn't make any sense because again, pake literally means outside of or like besides, right? Other than vegetables. Don't eat. It sounds kind of weird in Korean. You can just remember that you can't do it. So commands, and then for the same reason, you can't do suggestions. Should we only eat outside of vegetables? Like, it doesn't make any sense. If you want to make a command where you're saying only or a suggestion like shall we or let's only do that, you have to use man, which is why man is so great. Because man is just like chilling there. Yes, man. And then it's like, it'll do whatever you want. It's just chill. Whereas pake is like, no, I'm not going to work for this sentence. No, I only want negative verbs, but not anida. Like it's really picky. It's always grumbling and complaining about what it doesn't have. Always seeing the grass on the other side being greener. Pake is kind of a jerk. But man is like chill. Man's like, yeah, sure, I'm up for it, whatever. Commands, suggestions. Let's go. So just remember that. Okay. Now you are a master of using man and pake. So let's do some example sentences. Oops, I almost messed that up. It's like an onion or oak. How long must Shrek haunt our lexicon, the English language? How long must we be aware of that movie? They're going to be making another Shrek movie, by the way, with Mike Myers and who is the? Oh my goodness, it's Cameron Diaz, right? I almost said Celine Dion. Yeah. Okay. So 지금 now 2,000원. So 2001, which is like $1.50. 2,000원밖에 없어요. So outside of 2001 right now, I don't have anything right now. So other than 2001, I don't have anything, is what it literally says. So again, it's emphasizing like that lack, not just that it's only 2001, but it's like because I don't have all this other money, all that I'm left with, 지금 2,000원밖에 없어요. All I have right now is 2001. You could say 지금 2,000원만 있어요. I have only 2001 right now. But most of the time, pake will be more natural because you actually want that emphasis most of the time when you're saying that you can't do something or you don't have something or you're not doing something or someone didn't do something, anything like that. You actually want that nuance because you're not just saying, I only have 2001 right here. You're saying, man, all I have is 2001. You want that nuance, right? Just like in English, would you say, I only have $2,000? Well, not $2,000. In English, you probably wouldn't say, I have just $2,000. You probably would say, I only have $2,000. Why am I saying dollars? It's not one. So you would say more often something like, all I have is 2001. Like, that's all I have. Versus just saying, I have only 2001. So that nuance of lacking, something being insufficient, sounds more natural most of the time. Again, if it's not one of the cases where you can't use it, like a command or a suggestion, it will sound more natural, like 99% of the time, to use pake. So I would say, by default, I recommend using pake and then thinking, is this one of those situations where I can't? Is this a command? Is this a suggestion? Is this some time where I don't want to emphasize that, where I don't want to put any emphasis? Is this a time where I don't want to emphasize that something's lacking? In which case you can use man. Otherwise, pake is going to sound more natural most of the time. 지금 2,000원밖에 없어요. All I have right now is just 2001. I only have 2001. Like, I don't have anything else, is what it implies. How would you say, I want you to make this sentence. How would you say, I can only speak Korean? Now, I'll tell you this. The way to say speak a language, it's not 말하다. It is just 하다, to do. The reason is when you say any language, like 한국말, Korea language, already has the word language, and 말하다 means to do language. So if you say 한국말 말해요, it sounds like I do language, Korean language. It sounds really repetitive. So they just use 하다 for saying to speak a language. And you can say 한국말 or 한국어 for Korean language. They're both fine. So I want you to say, I only speak Korean. Or you can change it. You can say, I only speak English if you want. Or whatever language. You want to say Spanish, Italian, French, German, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Taiwanese, anything. Yiddish, muy bien. Ah, slushy. Slushy sounds good. Nice sentence, slushy. Very nice sentence. Although it's a little fancy. Yeah, I want you to make the sentence. I can only speak Korean. You want to be like slushy, you can be a little fancy, but I'm not going to. It doesn't matter. Just if you make any sentence that means I can only speak insert language here, you're good. So I can only speak Korean. Yes, Keith. Perfect. Very nice, Mikey. Very nice. A few people are adding in like 조금, like I can only speak it a little bit. Nice as well. Yes, Suzanne. Nice. Perfect, Lexica. Yes. Again. Well, I'll write it up here. You can keep going. I'll write it up here and then we'll talk about that nuance we get. Nice, nice. Yes. 조금밖에 is only a little bit. A few people have 조금밖에 in their sentence. That's totally fine too. Oh, that last sip is kind of weird and like bitter. Okay. 영업? Business? Oh, I think you mean 영어. But yes, just small typo, no problem. 저는 I 한국어, Korean language. 밖에. Outside of the Korean language, 못해요. I can't. I can't speak outside of the Korean language, is what you're literally saying. So I can't speak besides Korean, is what you're saying. And it adds emphasis to the fact that there's all these other languages out there. So it's not just saying, I speak only Korean. Nothing else exists. I only speak Korean. Which could be a legitimate sentence. Like here, in this meeting, we only speak Korean because it's all a Korean audience. And so that everyone feels welcome, we only speak Korean here. You would use man because you're not saying like it's lacking. You're not saying, well, there are all these other languages and we're doing Korean. You're not saying that. You're saying only Korean. But if you're talking about not being able to speak other languages, adding 밖에 adds that nuance emphasis that you're saying, hey, there are all these other languages and I can't do those. I can only do Korean, is what you're saying. 저는 한국어밖에 못해요. I only speak Korean. So it kind of sounds like you're saying, I wish I spoke other languages. Like, I'm sorry, it's not enough. I know I only speak Korean. 아, 죄송해요. 저는 한국어밖에 못해요. I'm sorry, I only speak Korean. Like that. Again, if you're ever confused, just use 밖에 because it'll sound more natural. And then just ask yourself, is this one of the situations where I can't use it? And if it's not, then go ahead and just use 밖에. Most of the time, it's going to be 밖에. Will be more natural. 저는 I 라면, ramen, although it's Korean style. 라면밖에 besides ramen, outside of ramen, 못 끓이다. 끓이다 is to boil something. And that's how you say to cook ramen. You literally say to boil ramen. So I can't boil anything but ramen, is what you're saying. 저는 라면밖에 못 끓여요. So all I know how to make is ramen. It's implying like, I know there's all this other food out there. Look at that. And this is all there is that I can boil, is what you're saying. 저는 라면밖에 못 끓여요. So all I can make, all I can cook is ramen. Literally boil. This is not a flex. The number of Koreans I've met who have told me, I don't know how to cook. I can only cook ramen. It doesn't make you look cool. Like, okay, all right, I guess. Yeah, learn how to cook some basic things. At least know how to operate the rice cooker. So you can make rice, because if you can make rice, you can make like kimbap. You can cut up some vegetables, throw it in there, you got kimbap. You can cook rice, you can have rice and kimchi with like some kim, some dried seaweed. You can open up a can of like spicy tuna or something, and you can have like a simple meal with some side dishes. You can cook rice, you can make fried rice. Throw the rice into a big wok, add some butter or some oil, a bunch of vegetables, crack an egg in there, put some mozzarella cheese at the bottom. Now you can make bokkeumbap, fried rice. You can unlock so many things by being able to just cook rice. You don't have to be like a professional chef. You don't have to know like hundreds of recipes. But please, if all you can do is, if this is you, 라면밖에 못 끓이면, please learn at least how to make rice. And then you're going to go around bragging, oh, I can only cook rice. That's okay. That's okay, I think. Although I did have a friend who would brag, I don't know if brag is the best word, happily confess, maybe, that all they could do was burn water. Like, how do you burn water? I realized you can. You can absolutely burn water if you don't put enough water in the pot and you have the fire on too high and you leave it and all the water evaporates because you didn't even give it like 10 seconds of respect and you went to the next room, and then it burns the pot, right? If you just cook a pot without any water in it, there's nowhere for the heat to go. It just burns the pot. So the pot can get all black. Anyway, yeah. 잠을 자다. To sleep, asleep, literally, but that's how you can say to get some sleep. 잠을 3시간 밖에. So, 못 잤어요. I couldn't sleep outside of 3시간, 3 hours. So, that's all I could sleep. All I slept was 3 hours. 저는, well, actually, there is no 저는 here. 잠을 3시간밖에 못 잤어요. 잠을 3시간밖에 못 잤어요. So, I only slept, meaning I couldn't sleep, except for 3 hours. All I got was 3 hours of sleep, is what you're saying. And because you used 밖에, this doesn't just mean like 3시간만 잤어요. Like I only slept 3 hours yesterday. Like maybe you set your alarm and you only sleep for 3 hours intentionally. And sure, you can use man. But you're probably trying to emphasize that there were more hours in the night that I could have slept. For whatever reason, maybe I was just staying up too late playing Civilization, just one more turn. Or maybe there was loud music playing and I couldn't sleep, or I have insomnia or whatever, and I was only able to get 3 of those hours. When you use 밖에, it adds that emphasis that there was more out there that I just couldn't get. 잠을 3시간밖에 못 잤어요. Okay, so that is 만 and 밖에. But there's one more thing we can use 밖에 for, and that's a verb form. Okay, this pen is now dead. I'm throwing this away. Which is perfect timing because I have the new pens coming. But yeah, I'm only left with black now. Okay. If you take a verb stem and then you attach if it ends with a consonant, or a lir if it ends in a vowel. Now, this is the exact same form you'll use for 100 other grammar forms, such as making the future tense, as well as when you're making the su, ita, and su opta forms, meaning can and can't. So this is the regular form you should already know how to make. But now, instead of just saying su opta, like I cannot, like 갈 수 없어요, I can't go. 할 수 없어요, I can't do it. Now you're adding in 수 밖에 없다. So let's take a verb for an example. Let's say 하다. 할 수밖에 없어요, for example. What does this literally mean? normally if you say 할 수 없어요, it means I can't do it. But now it's 할 수밖에 없어요. So we need to talk about what this part is though in order to understand it. 수 is not a normal Korean noun, but it's a special noun that's only used in grammar forms, specifically this grammar form, 수 있다 and 수 없다, and it means an ability. So if you say 할 수 있어요, 갈 수 있어요, 먹을 수 있어요, you're saying 있어요, I have or it exists, the ability to do. 할 수 있어요. So it exists the ability to do it, literally, meaning I can do it. 갈 수 있어요, the ability to go, 가다, exists. 먹다, 먹을 수 있어요, the ability to eat exists, like that. So I do not have the ability to verb, is what you're saying, but remember, there's 밖에 here. Besides the ability to verb, I don't have any other abilities, is what you're saying, literally. So if you say like, 갈 수밖에 없었어요. 가다, to go. 갈 수밖에 없었어요. You're not saying 갈 수 없었어요. I couldn't go. You're saying I couldn't do anything except go, is what you're saying. Because you're saying, except for the ability to go, I didn't have any other abilities, is what you're literally saying. 할 수밖에 없어요. I don't have any abilities except to go, I don't have any abilities except to 하다, to do something. This is an idiomatic expression that literally means that, but idiomatically means I can't do anything but. We might say, I can't help but do something. Or I have no choice but to do something. I mean, obviously you have a choice, but it means like that's all I could do. Or maybe, man, there was nothing else to do but this, is what it means. Because you're saying again, you do not have any abilities except for the ability to do verb. Like that's all I could do. And you can say 없어요 in the present tense if it's something right now, or 없었어요 in the past. Like that's all I could do. Like I couldn't help it, is what it means. 할 수밖에 없었어요. I couldn't help but do it. Again, literally, there was no ability except the ability to do it, is what it means. So yeah, I had no choice. I just had to. There was nothing to do but that. You know, I couldn't help but do it, is what you're saying. So let's look at a couple example sentences. Okay. 사진을 찍다 is to take a photo. 사진을 찍을 수. Let's just look at this. 없었어요. I couldn't take a photo, right? I did not have the ability to take a photo. I couldn't take a photo. 수밖에. Except for the ability to take a photo, I didn't have any other ability. I couldn't help but take a photo. I just had to get a photo, is what it means. So you might say this like if you see Willem Dafoe crossing the street and he's like dancing. And you don't want to bother, you don't want to bother the dude because he's having a good time. He's listening to music. You know who he is. He saw you. You're good. You don't need to bug him for an autograph. But he's just like dancing, crossing the street. And you're like, okay, like I didn't want to bother him, but 사진을 찍을 수밖에 없었어요. Although in this situation, you probably say 사진은, like I couldn't help but get a photo, if you want emphasis. 사진을 찍을 수밖에 없었어요. You know, I couldn't help but get a photo. Like I had no choice except getting a photo. So I took a photo of him crossing the street. Gave him a thumbs up, and he just kept walking away and disappeared. Turned into like a lizard and then entered the sewer. 사진을 찍을 수밖에 없었어요. So again, I just had to get a photo. So this is an idiomatic expression. It's not taken literally when you say it. It sounds like you're using an idiomatic expression. So it sounds very natural. just one more sentence, although there is another sentence for this in the worksheet. So if you want more example sentences, definitely get the worksheet. We'll talk about this, don't worry. Let's say you're waiting for a friend and they're really late, but you need your friend to come before you can do something. There's nothing else you can do except 기다리다, wait. 기다리는 수밖에 없어요. Except for the ability to wait, there's nothing I can do. So, you know, I just have to wait. Like there's nothing else I can do except wait. But wait. I'm sure you noticed this. 기다리는. This form 수 없다 typically will be used with the 을 or lir ending after a verb stem, which is technically the future tense verb ending. But you also can see it used with the present tense verb ending, which has 는. Like 하다, normally we saw it would become 할, like 할 수밖에 없다. And previously we had 사진을 찍을 수밖에 없어요. But you can also use it with 는. So 기다리는, 하다 would be 하는, 가다 would be 가는, like that. It's the exact same meaning, but if you use 는, it has a more written nuance. It sounds a little bit fancier. It's a little bit more of a written form. It's not as common when speaking, but you'll see both. I would say 9 times out of 10, you're going to see it with the regular future tense ending with the lir. And then 1 time out of 10, you'll see it with 는. Again, same meaning, but I recommend using it with the lir because that'll sound more like a spoken version of this form. Meaning's the same. So besides the ability to wait, I do not have any other abilities right now. That's all I can do is wait. Guess I got no choice but to wait, is what it means. 기다리는 수밖에 없어요. I just have to wait. I wanted to include that version because you might see it sometimes. But yeah, most of the time it's just going to be the lir. Okay. That is the lesson. Let me quickly get a thumbnail image. That's a good thumbnail image. It's like 90% of them are just... I should do something like kind of weird, like... There we go. I'll use that. Maybe I'll use that one for the thumbnail. Quick announcements before we go. Get the worksheet if you want to get 12 additional example sentences for these forms. If you are a bit confused about anything we did for today, definitely get the worksheet. It'll give you like 12 more examples, which will help you kind of feel more confident about it. And those 12 examples are also a little more difficult than could go in the class because I'll usually come up with about 20 sentences or so for every live stream. And then I'll pick the most useful ones out of those ones and the ones I feel like really match well with the forms. And then the extra ones, instead of throwing them away, because, you know, it takes a lot of time to come up with sentences, those will go into the worksheet. So you get usually more difficult examples to practice with. Next Sunday, there is no class. So you won't be getting an outline or a worksheet for next Sunday. And then the podcast, there won't be a podcast episode this week. Just kind of, I'm only going to tell you this once though, but the podcast is bi-weekly. It's supposed to be bi-weekly, but I put out the first 3 episodes 1 week after another, just so you can kind of get a feel for what the podcast is. But going forward, they're going to be bi-weekly. And hopefully we can keep doing that forever until I'm in Korea. And then there will be a break. And then I'll start, start season 2 when I come back. So, okay. Now I'm going to stick around for about 20 minutes. Really 20 minutes though today. I have something else I have to do in the evening. Might go see Christmas lights with my family tonight because we haven't seen any of those yet. Yeah, the worksheet's on Patreon. I'm confused. What are those squiggly markings that you're writing on the whiteboard? Biff, why don't you make like a tree and just get out of here? Yes, the $1 Patreon tier will get you your weight. You have no concept of time. Yeah, the $1 Patreon tier will get you like close to everything I offer. If you want to be like extra generous, the $5 tier will also get you access to my personal Anki deck, which I upload. Actually, I've already uploaded, but I update it about once a year. I'll do another update next year as well. There are like 7,000 something words or cards, close to 8,000 cards. And that's like a bunch of obscure random vocab that I've found over the years and I put into a deck, and then I organized it a bit and released it on Patreon. So you can get that. The $10 tier, you'll also get early PDF releases of my Learn Korean series. And then there's a $25 tier if you're feeling really generous. Actually, several of you are, and that lets you watch all of my videos early. So you can even watch my coming the next episode in the podcast. You'll get to watch that a week early. You get to watch my Korean analysis series early. All that stuff you get to watch early. Okay, I'm gonna answer a few questions. Mimi learns Korean. 우리는 할 수 있어요. Yes, we can definitely do it. Thanks for so much for the fabulous class. You're welcome. So yeah, I'll answer a few questions right now, just for 20 minutes. Sumumal says they're working through my beginner course. Nice. So much Back to the Future. Yeah. I actually recently watched the second one again because it was on Pluto TV. I sometimes randomly will just go on to Pluto TV if I'm like finished with all the stuff I'm doing that day and I just kind of want to relax. Then I'll turn that on, and they had Back to the Future. They think it might still even be doing it. They had like a marathon. They would just play 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3 like that. So I was watching the second one again. Pretty fun movies. You should do a video on learning Spanish in Korean. No, es muy difícil. Difícil is French again. Is it difícil is in Spanish as well? I noticed the consonants pronunciation varies between Koreans. Oh, you're talking, okay, Lola in the Black is asking an interesting question. I'm not sure if this is the question you're asking, but this is the question I understand you're asking. You're saying, how come some Koreans they'll say this letter a little bit differently. You're talking about dialect. So these sounds are different. For the simplest way I can explain it is these are the same sounds, but imagine that you say H before you say this sound. And then you get this one. So like if you're saying like sarang. Actually, let me give an actual word instead of just sarang, which is not a word. Shiram. So sarang, you're done. Sarang, just say sarang. But imagine you say an H before sarang. So you say sarang, shiram, like that. So shiram has that double sound normally. But in many dialects, especially the southern dialects, like Gyeongsang dialect, which is like Busan, Daegu, Ulsan, all of those areas, Pohang, anything in like the south part of Korea, this area has a lot of traits, and one of them is more lazy pronunciation. Not just the consonants, but also some of the vowels as well. But to answer your question, a lot of people in this area, especially older people, more than younger people, this sound doesn't really exist. It's always just this one. So they would say all of them like this. Again, not everyone does that, but people who speak the dialect will do that. And it doesn't affect understanding because like even though there are some cases where there are words that are the same just with that letter making them different, in context, you'll always know what someone's talking about. If they're talking about like, rice or flesh, which can have the same sound. If you do that, you're always going to know which one someone's talking about. There's never any confusion. Seal. Okay. Same thing. Nice. You should have a totally straight face and do a lesson on April Fool's Day where you teach lessons on Spanish, but get it wrong. Yeah, that'd be good. Sue Amazing asks, do you have a favorite dialect? I would pick Busan just because I lived there. And it's the only dialect that I feel comfortable hearing. Whereas other dialects sound like dialects to me, and I have to I have to really try to understand if it's someone like older But Busan just is like, it just sounds like, like a friend using Korean. Even if I don't know all the words they're using, it sounds like I can pick out what they're saying. So yeah, I just picked Busan for that. I also like Daegu, personally. I like the way that Daegu sounds. They're both good. For me, yeah, my personal favorite would have to be Busan just because I can understand it easily. But Daegu, if I pick dialects that I'm less familiar with, Daegu does have some unique features in it, especially the intonation is different. The words are mostly the same, but the intonation's a little bit different. But I really like the Daegu intonation. So dialect would be Busan, intonation, Daegu is my favorite. Personality wise, I love the Chungcheong dialect because it sounds friendly. It sounds slower and friendlier. So I like how it sounds. They're all good. They're all cool. They're all unique. What's the difference between su opda? So I actually have a video about that, Jonesy, in the Korean FAQ series. Search my channel for su opda and mot. There's an exact lesson about it. The really short answer, though, is that su opda means to not have the ability, like literally to not be able to do something, whereas mot can also imply sometimes that it's out of your control. Like, oh, I just can't go to the party. Not that I don't have the ability, like I could drive there, but I can't. I'm not allowed to. But yeah, you can watch that video. I give a few more examples of how it's different. Oh, Gray. Thank you, Gray. Or unless you prefer your full name, Gray7. All your donations today go toward my banana fund because I bought bananas from Trader Joe's. You wouldn't believe the prices. I think I spent like $3 on bananas. It's crazy. I got like 6 of them. No, I think they're like 25 cents each. I think I spent like $3 on bananas. Oh, great. Now my board's broken. You broke my lights. Can I fix it? There we go. I'm really happy that I'm really happy that the stream's working today because like I said, I spent a full day on Thursday readjusting my streaming program, and then this whole morning also for like a couple hours. This morning I also was tweaking things because I wanted to make sure all the stuff works properly, like how I had it set up. How much could one banana cost, Michael? $10? I've never seen that show, but I love that scene. And I know like some of the famous stuff in it. It's pretty funny. Yeah, Shuga's from Daegu. Though Shuga's dialect is not standard Daegu. Like not everyone who's from Daegu speaks like Shuga, if that makes sense. He has his own thing. He does a lot of what he does is, I mean, other people I've heard in Daegu as well do this, but he does it extreme where you start off with a full volume and then you quickly drop your volume and start mumbling. Like it starts off really clear, and then as he speaks, like it just goes down into mush after like a few seconds. That's just a Shuga thing. Other dialect speakers I've heard will do something similar, but he does it a bit more extreme. But most of the time when he's speaking, he's not actually using dialect. He just speaks like anyone from Seoul. But when he does use his dialect, then yeah, I think that it sounds pretty cool. But you won't hear that in his regular speaking. It just sounds like regular Korean, like from anywhere else. I have a friend I have a couple friends actually from Daegu, and they speak a little bit differently than that. And it's just a different intonation on the accent, like which syllable you put an accent on. Usually the either it's like the first syllable or whether they put it on the last syllable, and that'll differ between the different dialects. So even if they use the same vocabulary mostly, you can tell which dialect because they're using it on the second syllable or like the last syllable, and then Busan would put it on the like the first syllable or whatever. Or sorry, the last syllable the other way, yeah. Anyway, I made some videos about that before. What program do you use now? Oh, I switched over to OBS, which is what I should have been using, but I wasn't because I started this stream in 2018. And in 2018, nobody was recommending OBS for YouTube streaming because it was lacking a lot of important features. It was really bare bones. But now it's actually from like the year after I used it, people were recommending OBS instead. So yeah. I just had a Friends episode flashback. You think I don't know what breaks my lights? I don't know that episode. Although I didn't watch Friends. But I guess that is there something that has to do with this? 난 항상 도시락을 쌌어. Yeah, I always packed a lunch. 난 항상 도시락을 쌌어. And if you didn't hear it and they just said 쌌어 instead of 쌌어, you would never have a problem with that because the verb 도시락을 쌌다 is common for pack. And usually if you're saying I bought a lunch, if you're talking about food, you actually don't use 사다. 사다 is simply to buy, to purchase. I think if you translate it as purchase, you might see why people use a different verb. 사 먹다. In English, we would just say buy. In fact, there's a whole lesson that can be taught in here of connecting two verbs together. It's 사다 and 먹다 together as one verb, to buy and then eat. So if you say 사 먹었어요, 도시락을 사 먹었어요, that means I bought it, implying that I bought it and then I ate it. That's how you say I bought food, because you're not saying that you bought food for someone else. You're not saying you bought it like groceries. You're not saying like, oh, I bought bananas today. You're saying I bought it and ate it, right? If you ate it, you got to use this one. If you simply buy it, that's just saying, oh, I just went to the store and bought it. Like I needed it for something. You could say 도시락을 사다, to buy 도시락. If you're talking in the context of like, I'm buying it for groceries or I needed to buy it for something, then yeah. Otherwise, they're always going to know what you're talking about in context. So if you wanted to say 사 먹었어요, that would be fine. Like, oh, 항상 도시락을 사 먹었는데. Like I always used to just buy it and eat it, is what it means. Like I'd buy it for myself. In English, we don't say these two verbs. We would just focus on the 사다 part, the way we speak in English. But in Korean, it's more common that they combine verbs together. So they wouldn't ever think you meant buy, because that would sound awkward to say, oh, I always just bought my lunch. They're going to think, what would you do? Oh, I see what you mean. You mean that you bought it and then you ate it. They'll understand you, but it's awkward. So they wouldn't get it confused, because that's what they would think you say. Now, if you wanted to be really clear, you could say 돈 주고 사다. That means buy it with money. But this has the nuance of like, buy it for myself. 난 항상 돈 주고 샀는데. Like, I always had to pay for it myself, is what it means. So you could say that, 나 어릴 때 도시락 항상 돈 주고 샀는데. Like, I always paid my own money to get my lunch when I was a kid. When, that's fine. But you wouldn't say 샀는데 by itself, because then it's like, who would you buy it for? Why would you buy it? Where would you put it? So you'd say 사 먹었어요 or 쌌어요. I always packed it. Or 사서 먹었어요. I always packed it and ate it. Like that. So basically what I'm saying is there aren't many situations where you can get confused about what if someone says this and it sounds like this. You're going to be able to tell always, like with a couple exceptions, which you can clarify, you're always going to be able to tell by the context what someone's talking about. Love the man, but he is a mush mouth. Who's that? Shuga. Oh yeah, Shuga. That's right. Yeah, mush mouth is a good way to describe. I like the Busan accent more than the Seoul accent. Interesting. Personally, I prefer just the standard Korean, like the standard Seoul accent. But I mean, yeah, if I have to live in another place with a dialect, I probably would pick Busan just because I'm already comfortable with it. It doesn't sound like a dialect to me. It just sounds like another version of Korean. If that makes sense. Do people use 이사하다 or 이사가다? If you're talking about going somewhere, they're different. You use both. They have different meanings. So 이사하다 is simply moving in general. Like, oh, moving is difficult. Moving costs a lot of money. I might have to move Actually, you would still say 가다. If you're talking about a specific location, you would say move to, which is 이사 가다. Like, oh, I moved to 부산. 부산으로 이사 갔어요. Because you're moving, you're going there. Like I moved and I went there is what you're saying. If you say 이사했어요, it's like I just moved and the place that I moved is Busan. It's less clear. 이사하다 is moving in general, like the act of moving. Moving is hard, moving is fun, moving is expensive, like that. But when you're actually talking about to or from a location, you use 이사 가다 and 이사 오다. 나 지난주 이사 왔어. I moved here last week. 이사 왔어요. Like that. Or you can say, I think someone moved. If you don't say the location, you could use 이사하다, but usually you'd know what location is. Like 이사 갔어요. They moved somewhere else. They left. Or 이사 왔어요. They moved here. So you would usually know the location that whether they're going somewhere or coming from somewhere, you would use 이사 가다 and 오다. If you're not talking about someone actually moving from a location to another location specifically, 이사하다 is fine. Most of the time you're going to use 가다 and 오다. It's not just that verb also. It's every verb that has a 가다 and 오다 version. Like 걷다 is to walk. 걷는 거 좋아해. 근데 걷기가 좀 힘들어. I like walking, but it's kind of difficult, like that. But you would say 걸어가다. I walked to somewhere because you have a destination now. You wouldn't say 학교까지 걸었어요. You say 걸어갔어요 because you're saying 학교까지 갔어요 is what you're really saying. And the way I went there is by walking. So you can think of it kind of like that. I went there, 이사 갔어요. I went there, and the way I went there is by moving to get there. 이사 왔어요. I came here, and the way I did it is by moving here. And if you just say 이사하다, it's like I just moved, but it doesn't mean going anywhere. It's just moving. It doesn't imply that you moved to another place. It's just the act of moving in general. So yeah, there are a lot of verbs like that. I've actually taught a lesson about that for 가다 and 오다 verbs. Oh, sorry. Jaehoon Lee. I previously wrote something wrong. There's actually a different verb. I wrote this, but that's not what I meant to write. I meant to write this. So I apologize if you wrote this down. This one is a different verb. This one is the pack. Sorry, yeah, this one's the pack verb. This one is the pile verb, like something piles up. So you'll see it as 사타 or 사이다 for the two versions of it, whether something is. Apologies, this is not the one for 사다, although it does conjugate the same. This one is the pack one. It's just a double one, which also happens to be the same spelling as when you say something's not expensive, something's cheap. 싸요, 가격이 싸요, it's cheap. This one is not that. So apologies, I led you wrong. If you wrote this down in your notes, these are different verbs. Like I said, they pronounce the same, but different verb. So this would be the 도시락 one that we gave for the example. This one would be like, you would say 스트레스가 쌓이고 있어요. Like my stress is piling up, like that. 스트레스 쌓여, like that. Thank you, Jihoon Lee. I don't know if you noticed that before. I'm not sure if you commented that because of what I wrote, but either way, I appreciate it because I shouldn't be writing wrong verbs on the board. There's 쇼핑하다 and 쇼핑가다. Yeah, 쇼핑하다 is just shopping in general. It's not going shopping. You're just shopping. You can shop online, right? 온라인 쇼핑을 했어요. I did online shopping. 쇼핑하다. Good. If you're going shopping, if you're doing shopping, like 쇼핑 갔어요. I went shopping. 갔다 왔어요. And now I'm back, like that. 쇼핑 가다. 쇼핑, that's the to go and do it sort of meaning. 연습해 올수록 한국어가 쉬워져요. 연습할수록 would be fine. Because all it is that you're saying is the more I practice, in which case you don't need to use the 해 오다. Like you're trying to say the more that I've been practicing is what you're kind of saying. But you don't need to say the more I have been practicing, the easier Korean gets. All you're trying to say is the more I practice. In which case, 연습할수록 is all you need to do. Let's see. Gray asked a question. Which would you use if you bought something but haven't eaten it yet? Let's say you bought it a week before and it's okay. Then you would use the 놓다 or 두다 endings. So you conjugate the verb. I'll just write CV for conjugated verb. And then either 두다 or 놓다. Nota and tuda both mean to place down, like to put something down. Nota is like, so you can say like 사 놓았어요. Although most of the time people conjugate this as noa for short. So you'll see like 놨어요 like that. That's fine too. But it originally would be this. 사놨어요. So I bought it and then I put it down is what you say, which is I did it for later. So yeah, I bought it. I pre-bought it. It's kind of like what you're saying. I pre-did it. I pre-heated it. I pre-purchased it. Kuda is the exact same meaning, but it's for something that's intended to be stored long-term. So if you're buying it and you're planning on just leaving it there, like it's going into storage, you'd use tuda. So like 사뒀어요. 미리 사뒀어요. Like someone says, hey, do you have the sausages for the party? They are sold out. They've been sold out for 3 months. 제가 1월 달에 사뒀거든요. I'd already bought those back in January like that. Like in long term, they've been in storage. tuda. But if someone says, hey, do you have the cupcakes for the party? 네, 사놨어요. I bought them and I put them down. So that's what you'd use. And I have, if you're wondering, Billy, do you have lessons about that? Yeah. I have a Learn Korean episode. I don't know if it's in the beginner course because I think it's kind of, it might be a little bit higher than that level. I'm not sure. It might actually be in the beginner course. But anyway, definitely I have a live stream about it. I have a Learn Korean episode about it. It's in a bunch of other videos. So you can search nota or tuda. And you can also use 놓아두다, but in that case, it's not the same thing. 놓아두다 is literally to put something down and then leave it there for a long time. So it's the same thing as this form, but it's for the verb 놓다 literally meaning to put down, not the auxiliary verb 놓다 meaning to leave it long term, like to do something in advance. So yeah, different word. 연습할수록 한국어가 쉬워져요. Yeah. The more I practice, the easier Korean gets, which is true. Someone asked the difference between 편하다 and 편리하다. Yeah, 편하다 is comfortable, like your chair is comfortable. You're comfortable talking with a friend. You feel relaxed, comfortable. 편리하다 is like easy to use, convenient. It's there when I need it. That's 편리하다. Like, oh, I don't know what would be convenient to use. Like the remote control is so convenient, like that. It wouldn't be 편해요, but you can say I feel 편해 because I feel comfortable, watching TV. But TV 보니까 너무 편해, like that. 너랑 얘기하는 거 너무 편하다고. Like, it's so comfortable talking with you, whatever. 편리하다 is convenient though, different. Same 한자 though, but different meanings. Okay, that's enough for today. I want to thank again the people who sponsored this episode, this live stream. Thank you again to Mike, Lexica, Sigominko, Flo Purdy, Gray7, to all of you, as well as to people who are out there supporting me, all my Patreon members and YouTube members. Thank you. It means the world to me. I couldn't be doing this. I love teaching Korean, but I couldn't be doing it if it weren't for people supporting me. I just simply don't make enough from YouTube to do it. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. Someone say more something in the chat. Hold on. Oh, Keith, hold on. Keith, I almost missed it. Is that you, Keith? Hold on. Where did he say that? Yes, I see something. One more an email. Yes. Keith just sent another donation. Thank you, Keith. I didn't want to miss it. Sorry, I don't want to say, I don't want to get a donation and not say thank you. So thank you as well to Keith. Okay, now I'm going for real.